The general feeling surrounding Cyberpunk is that something big is coming. Now, exactly what that is still a very hot topic within the community. There's been numerous teases.
And maybe we still have a surprise or two left for you.
Maybe.
You will see soon enough.
Okay.
Including cryptic tweets from the official Twitter account, with many looking at previous cut content making a return as the possible platform for a major update or DLC. And that's what I want to take a look at today as we sift through the latest information and previous announcements as we try to figure out what the hell is about to happen with Cyberpunk. If you feel like supporting the channel, the easiest and free way is to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell. You can also take it a step further and become a channel member with different tiers and perks. And with that, let's dive into the latest with Cyberpunk. To get from point A to Z with this idea that Cyberpunk 2077 will be dropping something major in the near future, it all begins towards the end of 2023, which, by the way, is very significant because that's when the longtime CEO for CD Projekt Red, Adam Kaczynski, announced he was stepping down and that new leadership would be filling the void. Now, in tandem with Kaczynski's departure, it was also revealed in late 2023 that Cyberpunk would be getting one last update with patch 2.1, and that was to be it, outside of a small team that would be in place to help support the game. But under the guidance of the new joint CEOs, Adam Badowski and Michael Nowakowski, CDPR revealed their new strategy for longevity and supporting the current products long-term, and this new flywheel strategy was at the heart of their program to energize CDPR, including all types of media outside of the games themselves. For the company's two bread and butter products, The Witcher and of course Cyberpunk, this meant expanding and extending their life cycles with expansions, content updates, and DLC, with the idea of keeping the current franchises in place and relevant until the newer versions, The Witcher 4 and Project Orion, aka Cyberpunk 2, were ready to release. And to be clear, in the case of Cyberpunk, we are still years away from that reality. For the bulk of 2024, things were relatively quiet for Cyberpunk, with minor updates appearing, including the introduction of FSR, so it was completely unexpected and out of the blue when on December the 10th, by the way, that's the game's anniversary of 2024, we saw this bombshell of an announcement revealed. Update 2.2 was incoming, along with a red stream, where we received a ton of new information and learned a lot about the development of the update, along with this now infamous clip.
And maybe we still have a surprise or two left for you.
Maybe.
You will see soon enough.
Okay.
That immediately got the Cyberpunk community buzzing. Now, in terms of the update itself, it opened up a whole new level of character customization. Johnny was now spawning in far more frequently, and there was a revamped photo mode and, of course, that improved crystal code system that was received very well by the community. But here's an important fact to remember. Update 2.2, like all the previous updates, was absolutely free. A fact made especially curious because CDPR had already spent a reported near $126 million in post-launch development just to get the game to the state it currently sits, now tacked on and along with the money that was spent for Virtuous Studios, the development group behind these most recent updates. This game was reported to be done and finished, again, back in 2023, and here was CDPR dropping money on an outside development studio to handle the bulk of the work on these updates. All very interesting topics, right? But again, the real question here was, what could that teased more be, and when would it be dropping? So immediately, speculation turned to the Ultimate Edition that was coming to Switch 2 as the hinted at more, and this was how Virtuous was going to continue its partnership with CDPR. Again, this was all speculation, and at the time of that red stream, Switch 2 was several months away, so it was a possibility, but that was then debunked when it was revealed that the Switch 2 port was only a few months old, and it was also being handled completely in-house by CDPR, not Virtuous. We've even seen Powell Sasko tweeting post-update 2.2 launching, asking this of the community, quote, My dears, for my own education, could you let me know what is missing for you the most in Character Creator Expanded and Update 2.2? Certainly another indication that Cyberpunk's updates were far from finished, further reinforced when Update 2.21 dropped on January 23, 2025, with a ton of additional fixes, some to correct items introduced in Update 2.2, along with DLSS 4 support on PC. But where this idea of more content coming to Cyberpunk starts to really take shape comes from the new CEOs of CDPR themselves and how they receive extra compensation, because these are directly intertwined. You see, as part of the board's incentive structure, they set some pretty lofty goals in terms of financial returns, with the first marker of those projections to be met by the end of 2026, and judging from their own internal documents, they're behind. Looking over the graph, and fiscal year 23 and 24 profits put them about halfway to that marker. And keep in mind, again, according to CDPR's own internal data, 2023 and 2024 were their second and third most profitable years ever. Now, along the way, we've seen contributing factors like the Edge Runners series hit Netflix, which, by the way, I loved, and it certainly had long-lasting effects on Cyberpunk sales and, of course, player retention. And as of November 2024, Cyberpunk has reported to have sold 30 million copies, with another 8 million copies of Phantom Liberty, which again launched back in 2023. During one of the more recent calls, when fielding questions from investors, it was said that The Witcher 4 is not set to release in 2026. So the question here is, how does CDPR get the other 52% of that needed revenue increase to hit their incentive bonuses? So let's take a look at that. We've seen announcements that CDPR was partnering with Scopely, noted mobile game developer, to possibly create a Cyberpunk mobile title, but not much is known about the project or even when it could potentially release. There's also been, of course, outside media projects in the works, including the live action project from Anonymous Content and a noted anime series coming to Netflix, which could both potentially drive up player interest in the Cyberpunk series. But when it comes to the question of sheer profit and how is CDPR going to hit those lofty ROI goals, I could be wrong here, but they would be hard-pressed to match that of Phantom Liberty, which was a paid DLC 3 years in development. We've also known for a while now that the Mac version of Cyberpunk will be releasing sometime in 2025. That will, of course, increase their profits, but that was a known fact as far back as October 2024. Another source of income could come in the form of the Wuthering Waves Edge Runners collaboration announced less than a week ago, but once again, how much profit could that produce, and when would it launch outside of sometime in 2026? I mean, there's still a lot that could happen. And for the record, here's the 2 most followed theories about how CDPR could or would actually attempt to pull this off, with the first centered on this cryptic tweet and graphic related to main character birthdays, of course minus Takamura, Arasaka, and the Fixers, with a further tease on this tweet saying this, quote, "Oh, and don't worry about the encrypted data warning, just a glitch in the system, or is it?" Could this be the characters from Edge Runners? I mean, I guess it could, but even though Edge Runners is set in the Cyberpunk universe, the two are not directly connected. Some have speculated it could be characters from the upcoming anime series, while others theorize these 6 spots are reserved for completely new characters, which would involve an expansion to the game or possibly a new DLC. There's also a case to be made for another theory that for Cyberpunk's second major expansion, we are headed to space, possibly to the Crystal Palace, despite previous statements from the studio that Phantom Liberty was the only planned expansion for the game. But this statement is old, and CDPR is, of course, under new leadership, who are attempting to maximize the longevity of their current titles with the idea that they will have nothing new releasing for years. Players have long since requested multiplayer, and that was the original intention for Cyberpunk, but had to be cut as the game's launch quickly approached. And I found it interesting that within CDPR's own financials, they said introduce multiplayer experiences under their business direction portion of the publication, along with male Vs and the featured artwork. Having the ability to attempt multiplayer, even in a limited capacity, would be incredible, along with other community requests to participate in activities like, say, max tac raids or trauma team rescues, which could be both extremely immersive, but from the sound of these, they would not be paid DLCs. And we've already established the point that CDPR is doing very well financially, but still falling short of their lofty internal markers set for incentives. So again, where do they get the content to include in this DLC? Now, outside of a space-themed expansion, the other idea being floated around is centered around Morgan Blackhand, who, to jog your memory, participated in the Arasaka raid with Johnny, but hasn't been seen since. Now, when asked about Morgan, Mike Pondsmith responded that Morgan is still alive and that he has about 10 years of his life that needs to be accounted for. If that's the case, a Morgan Blackhand DLC could be a nice fit for Cyberpunk's second DLC. But there's the speculation, the rumors, and the theories, and as someone that absolutely loves this franchise, taking into consideration the dates and timelines before we see a new Cyberpunk alongside CDPR's internal incentive goals, it just feels like there is something big in the works that could not only keep the players happy, but could get 2077 across the finish line and transitioned over into Cyberpunk 2. Make sure to leave me any feedback you have about Cyberpunk, and I will, of course, do my best to respond. Remember to hit subscribe and to ring that notifications bell so you stay up to date on my latest upload alerts. All my socials, including links to today's sources, can be found down in the video description. And until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.